What is up, my friends? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm very excited because I'm actually sharing one of my projects with you that I've been working on for a little while now, and it's finished. So the entire song is finished, but the reason why this song is special to me is because it was another chance for me to work with the vocalists. Now, I didn't work with the vocalist directly, but I did work with the songwriter and the artist. So they hired me to basically arrange, orchestrate, produce, mix, and master this song, this Christmas song, fittingly because it's December. And I just had a lot of fun. And the vocalist sent me, the vocalist sent her takes to the artist who sent me all of these tracks. But in this video, I wanted to talk about how I arrange pop vocals, basically, and some considerations when you are, adding instrumentals around it and mixing it, what to look out for, and all of that stuff. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's just jump right into it. So first of all, when it comes to pop vocal arranging, I think you really have to have a clear vision in mind of what you are actually trying to be the main focus, right? So usually that will be the lead vocal. In an instrumental piece, it could be a solo violin line, it could be a solo horn, it could be something else, right? But in most pop music with vocals, the lead vocal is usually what the listener is paying the most attention to, which means that the arrangement has to be taken into consideration where we don't want the instruments fighting with the lead vocal, whether that be volume or frequency wise, or maybe the instrumental is playing really busy stuff while the vocal is doing something busy. So then that kind of detracts from it as well. There's all these different things you want to consider. So what I want to do is play the first verse and chorus with you and then just talk about some of the instrumental techniques that I applied to the song. So let's have a quick listen. Start from the beginning here.
Up ahead is the glow of your firelight. Snow's in my boots, but it's alright. I see that star on your Christmas tree. Now I'm exactly where I wanna be. And in a while by the fire of the shimmering light, the only present that I need tonight is you and me, singing Old Frosty the Snowman. Right here, this is Christmas. With you, this is Christmas. The day that we show the love that just glows. The gift that is Christmas. My wish for this Christmas is all I hope the year is kept safe right here. This is Christmas. Your voice is the candle that just melts my...
All right, so that is the first verse and chorus. Now, you might have noticed that the cymbal cut off a little bit there, so I apologize for that, but that's just kind of contact overloading a little bit. But essentially, you'll see how the difference between the verse and the chorus is, right? Like in the first verse, we only have the lead vocal, which means that although I can do a bunch of processing to the vocal, the instrumental around it has to really enhance it in a certain way. And the worst thing to do is to add too much so that it takes away from the quality of the vocal, right? So what I wanted to do was, to give you a little bit of context, the artist sent me the original version of this song called This Is Christmas, and it was arranged and produced in a slightly different way, but she sent it to me because she wanted the song to be a little bit more Christmassy. So she hired me to do a rearrangement of it and a reproduction of it in a way. So having listened to the original, and before I received these vocals, I basically did the arrangement before receiving the final vocals from the singer. So keeping that in mind, I basically went with a pretty sparse beginning. If you just have a listen to this part, the main tonal elements here are a felt piano, which I'm just playing light chords in the right hand, right? Some women vocals in the background as well for a more ethereal cinematic feel. At the same time, for that Christmas sound, of course, I had to put in some sleigh bells. Originally, I had them as like eighth notes, but they were a little too fast-paced, so I just changed them to quarter notes, and then in addition, a little glockenspiel there as well to give it that magical sound, that Disney type of feel. So just one more time. And that tubular bell just gives a nice little church type of sound, kind of Christmassy as well. And then in addition to that, I introduced a celeste in the second half of the verse here. Now we hear a little more of an ethereal touch. So here I'm introducing a Galaxy piano and a Dreamy piano. These are all instruments from Elysian, Sonu Score's companion library to the orchestra. And yeah, it just, nothing is really getting in the way of the lead vocal because it's all kind of in the higher register where her vocal is kind of a little bit below that, right? So arrangement wise, it's really important that we consider where the vocal is lying. And, you know, if it's a male or female vocalist, that determines a lot as well. One thing I also want you to notice is that when she's singing more words, the instrumental is not doing that much. But when she's taking a breath or, you know, when the word is shorter and she has a moment to, you know, take a rest, then that's what the instrumental can fill in with something else. So this not only maintains the listener's interest, but it just sounds really cool in general, right? Because there's always something happening. So if we just have a listen. Harp comes down. Still singing. Frosty snowman. Now, you hear the bell tree at the end there, you hear a little bit of a rise in volume, right? Because she's holding her last note of the verse, but now we expect the chorus to come in, and I wanted a little bit of a riser there. So we put in a riser, then we have the instruments building up to the chorus, and when the chorus hits, now we not only get doubles, but we also get harmonies coming in. So, right here, this is Christmas. If we just listen to the vocals on their own, solo them here, this is what it sounds like. This is Christmas with you. This is Christmas. Right. So you hear how like full and rich that is, right? So already to me, that tells me that I don't actually have to do all that much the arrangement because I already have a good foundation with the lead vocal. Now, I didn't know this before receiving the vocals because the songwriter, the artist, told me that she was asking the singer to do some extra harmonies, some dubs, and all of that stuff. So in my mind, that told me like, okay, that probably means the chorus is going to be a little more full, which means I don't need to go overboard with the production here. So what I did was I added a drum kit for a driving feel, right? And then I also have some short strings here, which I'm really happy about. And these are from Untitled Chapter 1 strings, just one of the spiccato patches. Right? So that already gives it a more of an energetic and happy, sprightly type of feel, you know? The love that just glows, what's another really important component is I wanted to add in the bass. Because I wanted the low end to be a little more supported. So in the first verse, it was lighter, it was more ethereal, you know, she's singing a little more subdued. But when the chorus comes in, it's more passionate, there's more power in the vocals, the harmonies are there. So every frequency in general has to be more balanced, right? So in that case, I added a bass line and kind of playing in octaves with a slightly syncopated rhythm. Simple rise, hit. And you can see also here I've layered in some hip hop type drums from Cymatics. So they have a whole bunch of free packs on their website. So you can download those for free and you know, create your own awesome patterns. So here I've just, you know, I basically copied Ariana Grande's Santa Tell Me. That was kind of the reference track we were talking about, the artist and I. So we kind of copied the drum beat in a way, something kind of similar. And yeah, in terms of the way I arranged the vocals around that, what I wanted to do is make sure the lead vocal was up the center, which was very important because that's the main element. And I'll talk about the processing in a second. But the doubles, if we just have a listen to those on their own. This is Christmas with you. Do you hear how those two doubles were kind of panned LCR, like panned hard right and hard left? And what that does is give the lead vocal some width, right? So the lead vocal is up the center, as you can see. The first double is panned hard left. The second double is panned hard right. So we get this full stereo spread. And then the ad-libs, which come way later in the song, like in the final chorus and all that, those are kind of like, it sounds like this. So kind of like a background type of texture, but the artist wanted it to be more prominent, so that's why I turned it up there. But I wanted to leave it up to center because it is a very important part of the song as well. When it comes to the harmonies, they have a kind of a similar treatment to the chorus doubles. So essentially we have the hard pan left, hard pan right for each of these as well. And yeah, I basically wanted to make sure the stereo spread was there from the very beginning. So panning is a very important thing that you can take advantage of, especially in pop music, and when you're dealing with vocals that have a lot of different tracks to them. So I panned those hard left, hard right, and it gave me this really wide spread. In terms of the processing themselves, let me just see. Did I have group tracks? I did. So I had lead. Okay, get rid of this bar. I have lead vocals here, applying a compressor, the RVox from Waves. So let's see how much that's doing.
Here, this is Christmas with you. This is Christmas.
Right.
The day that we show.
So it's compressing, not too much. It's just a little push there, and then I brought down the gain, the makeup gain. A little compression to, contain it a little bit, and of course a de-esser, and then some Greg Wills voice centric to spice it up a little more, to give it some additional EQ, compression, and a little bit of warmth, saturation. I did the same with the background vocals. The only difference is that I applied Valhalla Room to them as well. So I pushed them back in the mix slightly more to make them a little bit more background, right? As in like the hearing the room. So that's a very cool reverb. That's very low on CPU. And then I have a separate drum track here. The most important plugin here being the decapitator, because I wanted them to punch through the mix a little more, be a little more gritty. But the lead vocal, I applied the most processing. So here I have an EQ. Let's have a listen to it itself.
Right here, this is Christmas.
Take out the low ends.
With you, this is Christmas.
Take out some of those like weird frequencies there. That honky sound there. Make it a little more crispy on the top, so a little more balanced. Okay, a little RVox, compression. Then Echo Boy, I applied basically 2 delays. Now I'm not a master with delays at all. Like I basically wanted a little bit of an effect. The first one was to give it a little bit more depth without actually being that audible. So the first one was just a really quick delay. I believe, yeah, these are the settings here. So I didn't want it to be too obvious, but I just brought that up a little bit. Let's see if I can actually isolate it and have a listen to what that sounds like. So I'll tear off the second delay, but
right here, this is Christmas.
You can kind of hear the delay there if I take it off.
Right here, this is Christmas. With you, this is Christmas.
You hear the harmonies behind, but with it in.
Here, this is Christmas. With you, this is Christmas.
You get just a little bit of extra thickness there. So I went with the classic slap delay there. Then the second delay was actually meant to be more audible. So here we have.
Here, this is Christmas. With you, this is Christmas. The day that we show.
If I just show you exactly where I put that. Let me see. So here's where I applied the delay. So
that is Christmas. My wish for this Christmas is all.
Right, so it's just basically repeating the extra words at the end of the phrase. So that's a little more obvious there. That's where I turn it on. And I just wrote the automation to make that a little easier to play. And then a little bit of a hollow room, which I ended up turning down because the artist preferred it a little drier, which is totally fine. Like I've gotten used to this drier signal at this point, so I kind of like how it sounds. But for me, the most important thing when arranging a lead vocal or processing a lead vocal is the volume balances, comparing the lead vocal to everything else. You could EQ as much as you want, you can do as much compression as you want, but nothing really matters if the volume balances are not correct. Because if the lead vocal is too soft compared to like the drums or the guitars or whatever, it's not going to come through, So the volume balances, the static mix is essentially important, especially important, I should say. And it's something I stress all the time when I'm doing strictly orchestral music, because it's one of those things that you have to get it right at the source. before actually doing the extra stuff with the processing. So volume balances are extremely important, and I believe I actually balanced the lead vocal first before bringing in the other instruments around it. So that's a very important thing to consider as well. So yeah, that's basically it. And then throughout, we have additional parts, but like all the way through, consistently, I have the panned harmonies, I have the pan doubles, lead vocals up to center, making sure the volume balances are correct. Of course, there's automation throughout just to make sure all the peaks and the, stuff like that are all caught. Parts that are especially too quiet, I brought them up just a little bit to make sure they're audible and everything like that. And you'll hear the official version as well on the channel, but this is the idea. So yeah, that's basically one of the core components of producing a pop song in the orchestral context, especially making sure the lead vocal is up front, center, and arranging the other parts around it in a way where it doesn't overstep on top of the lead vocal, and taking the instrumentation and the arrangement into consideration as well. So there are two other components that I personally think are super important when it comes to an orchestral mix or orchestral production, and that is kind of like how we consider the strings. Because really the strings are like the biggest leader in an orchestral setting when it comes to pop music. When you think of orchestral pop, usually strings come to mind first. The other one is dynamic contrast, and having louds, quiets, and everything in between. Those are really important things to consider as well. Unfortunately, we don't have time to talk about that in this video, but if you'd like to learn more about that, I've condensed all three of these points into a brand new guide called 3 Components to a Orchestral Pop Song. And so in this guide, I'll dive into everything I talked about, not only in this video, but those other 2 points as well, about string writing and dynamic contrast. And I think it's really going to help you with your next orchestral pop song. If you do work with vocals or anything like that, it'll be an interesting guide to refer to when you're thinking about arrangement and volume balances and everything like that. So it's totally free. If you download it in the first link in the description box, I think it will help you with your next productions. And please leave me a comment. Let me know what you personally like to do when it comes to vocals. If you produce music with vocals a lot, if not, how do you usually handle your lead instruments in an orchestral setting, anything like that. Let me know as a comment below, and we can talk about it. And yeah, just thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video, and take care. Bye-bye.